with speaker for today, ng5001.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is ng5001. I come from the Department of Civil and Environmental Engineering of the US. Thank you very much for all of you attending my presentation today. I'm very delighted to share with you what I have been working on. And so before my presentation starts, I want to ask you a question. Have you ever seen a coastline, a very beautiful coastline?
East Coast Park.
No, just a coastline.
Oh, it has a coastline, no? East Coast Park.
Yeah, but it's fine. But the things I want to mention is that before under the beauty of the beautiful coastline, there is some hidden risk there. So today I want to shed light of them to all of you. And so I want to mention my topic today is an integrated coastal ecosystem model, which can help us to assess the relationship between the mangrove and the marine. So today my presentation will divide into 4 parts. The first, I want to share with you some backgrounds and concepts, and then I will smoothly move to some literature review to all of you about what's some previous studies, and then I will mention the gaps, purpose, and how my experiment design, and finally give the significance and my personal expectations. So I think climate change is a very hot topic. I think all of you have heard about this. If the over discharge of the green gas like carbon dioxide will make the glacier accelerating to melt, and finally the sea level will rise. So here I will show you a picture here. You can see as the year increase, the sea level begin higher and higher. So you may ask me, what's the climate change relate to Singapore? Actually, Singapore is a low-lying country. Low-lying means it has a very relatively low altitude. So when the sea level are rising, if the coastline are not enough high or enough rigid, there will occur the coastline erosion very seriously, and finally the Singapore will be inundated or flooded by the ocean water. So here are the coastline. This is what I mean. The seawater and it's a border of the land and the seawater. So there are different chemical reactions here, so we need to care about this. So the next, some people feel interesting about the mangrove. So this is a kind of plant. It has very strong root system and abundant roots. So here's a picture of it. You can see they're very strong and full. You even can see some empty place here. So what can mangrove do? Some botanists found that, and some environmental engineers, they found that the strong root system can attenuate the wave and reduce the water velocity. So finally, it will facilitate the sediments. You can imagine that the sand will not be bring by the seawater that easily, so they will settle down there. So why I mentioned the mangrove here? So here's the picture. You can see this red part are all of the mangrove. Their distribution around the Singapore coastline. So their extensive distribution can take advantage of this. And it's also a very cost-effective method to help us to protect our coastline. So actually the nutrients dynamics are very important in the mangrove ecosystem. A lot of people have do the research about this, like the competition between the phytoplankton, and the phytoplankton is also being approved as a limiting factor about the mangrove distribution. So I think phytoplankton is a very strange word for all of you. You can just think like they are very small plants. You even need to use a microscope to zoom in 100 times so you can see them. So actually now all of the environmental engineers, they want to do a very good prediction about how the mangrove will be there. So they will use a process-based models. So like we don't use the machine learning, we use the process model to firstly know how the mangrove, the distribution with the nutrients dynamics. So we want to reveal their relationships there. Finally, we went to the test data and yield our prediction. So this is what I mentioned, the prediction model. We want to simulate the mangrove nutrients and seawater properties. So there are some gaps here. As the phytoplankton I mentioned above, it's a very important thing we need to care about, but actually there are a few research are covering the phytoplankton in the model. And the nutrients dynamics with the phytoplankton is also very vague there, so we need to review that. So what's our purpose? My purpose of the study is not to add phytoplankton as a factor in my model, and then I will do some ecology studies about the relationships between the phytoplankton and the mangrove, and finally I want to build a more comprehensive model. So you may ask me how I achieve this purpose. The first one is doing the control experiments, and the second is doing the recoupling the water and the mangrove models. Because we call it a prediction model, so we want to simulation not the current scenario. We want to simulate the current and the future scenario here. We may collect the data from other disciplines to know that how the light, how the temperature, how the nutrients level there in the future and now. And finally, we will use the distribution and the growth rate of the mangrove there to help us to know how the mangroves, the condition of the mangroves there. Finally, we will do the model, the coupling of the model. We will use one called the ng5001 and another called ng5001. So here's a picture I want to show off. The ng5001 is the hydrodynamics model, which means we're doing some model about the seawater. We calculate about these parameters. And the ng5001 is this one. We may go to the mangrove ecosystem there, and we will test some mangrove heights about their age and how the mangrove species there. So finally, we use the Python to couple these two models, so they can translate data for each other and then start our model. So when it comes to the application of my project, we really hope we can. The relevant people will know more about the phytoplankton relationships between phytoplankton and mangrove, and we also want our project can refine some existing models and do a reference for the future models. So for the Singapore, we expect that the Singapore Environmental Department, they can have a clearer understanding of the local condition, and we also hope they can make a better policies and strategies. So here is our important agency in Singapore. So we really hope they can get our idea. So here is the reference, and the next I want to move to the question and answer part. And please feel free to ask me any questions you are curious about. Thanks.
output the data for training the model. How does this
Actually, yeah, this is a good question. Actually, I think we are not want to training the model. We are just translating the data from each other. So we are not training them. So this is the picture I mentioned. We will use the ng5001 for the water modeling, and we will set an initial condition there, and we will also set an initial mangrove condition there. So we use like a different time step, which means this model will update like 90 days. And for this model, we will also have a time step maybe in another time. So after that, we will update each other after 90 days modeling, so there will be a new mangrove distribution there, right? And based on that, this model will then calculate the parameters we want there. So I think it's actually not a training part. Thank you.
you expecting to find?
This is what our expectation. We hope the Singapore government can have.
Yeah, that's the application. But what do you expect to find?
Because
about phytoplankton, what do you expect to find?
we expect to find the phytoplankton's nutrients dynamics with the mangrove because they are all plant, right? So they all need the nutrients. So in that small zone, they will compete with each other. So we want to know, are there any other different relationship between them? Not just maybe competition, maybe they have synthesized together. Yeah, so we want to test about that.
That should help to create a better mangrove.
Yes, because because the mangrove. The mangrove is the main body we want to use there to help us protect the coastline. So we need to care about how the mangrove's distribution there. So the phytoplankton will influence its distribution. So this is the reason we want to test their relationship there. And then finally, we will not only know now how the mangrove distribution there, we can also predict in the future if we can do some measures that can decrease the phytoplanktons there, can help the mangrove to grow better.